Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning on the West Coast, and welcome to this Voto Latino Hangout today. Today we will be talking about the Voto Latino Innovators Challenge, or the VL Innovators Challenge, and the importance of recruiting more Latinos to the tech sector. Joining us today, we have a distinguished panel. I'll just go through and introduce them one by one. First, we have Cheryl Grant. Cheryl is the Director of Social Networking for the Haystack and MacArthur Foundation Digital Media Learning Competition. Cheryl's also actually a PhD student at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So she does it all. She's also a mom, and I don't know how she does it, but she does. Cheryl, thanks so much for joining us today. Also with us today is Juan Vasquez. Juan is an organizer at Nation Builder, where he works at the intersection of community organizing and technology for political and nonprofit groups worldwide. Before that, he led the most active social media team in the 2013 LA mayoral elections and was director of communications for a local tech nonprofit. Juan is all over the internet. He's a blogger. He's on social media, and we're so glad that he was able to join us today. Thanks, Juan. Okay, and then Fallon Dominguez also joins us today. She's an associate account strategist at Google in California. She graduated last year from American University with a BA in International Studies and a BS in Economics. And full disclosure, Fallon was also a member of the Voto Latino team very recently, and we're really glad that she was able to join us today. Thanks, Fallon. Our last panelist is Jason Zavala. Jason is a computer engineering student at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. He recently returned from serving a 2-year mission in Manchester, England, where he came back to us fluent in Mandarin Chinese, which will serve him well as he pursues his career in the tech sector, and also in transparency's sake, Jason is also my brother. Thanks for being with us, Jason.
Okay.
So today we've convened this hangout, as I mentioned, to talk about the tech sector, the Latino community, and why this is important. The VL Innovators Challenge is a competition that Voto Latino has launched this year in partnership with the MacArthur Foundation, with Google, with a lot of folks who have come together on this issue. It's a tech challenge for millennials, so those who are 18 to 34. It's open to anybody in that age group who has a good tech idea to improve conditions in the Latino community. There's $500,000 open in grants, and 10 to 15 groups will walk away with funding and with resources and tools to bring their tech idea to life. Cheryl, you work with Haystack, the administrator of the VL Innovators Challenge. Can you tell us a little bit more about the competition?
I can. The website for it is vlinnovators.com. It's a tech challenge, as you were saying a little bit earlier. And I personally think of it as more than just a competition. To me, it's about building a movement, and it's one of the things that gets people excited is if they can be funded to make a dream come true, or a vision come true, or an idea come true. And it's really designed, I think, to imitate how things actually work in the tech field, which is great ideas, finding people who can help you make those great ideas happen. You don't necessarily have to be a person who can code. You don't have to be in computer science. It's really about forming habits of thought that make you think like a person who's an innovator. And so the competition is designed to help people who have great ideas come together, have meetups or whatever it is, come together and start brainstorming ideas and figure out how you can be a part of a big and important movement.
I like that. I like that the focus is on creating a movement, and you're right. That's exactly what VL Innovators is. It's more than just a one-time competition, but we're really trying to help create this pipeline of Latino tech talent to Silicon Valley and to the tech sector, because it's such a growing part of the economy. Bringing in Juan along with Cheryl, why do you think it is important to recruit more Latinos to tech?
Sure. There's something to be said for, I think, newer generations of immigrants or families that have only been here maybe a few years. I know myself, I'm a first-generation immigrant. I came here when I was 12. And we bring, I think, newer perspectives, a new way of maybe doing things, an approach to problem solving, a creativity I like to call it a little bit of a hustle and grit. And I think that as we, Cheryl touched on it already, innovation, as we push forth as a community of all immigrants of all backgrounds, right, regardless of how long we've been here, it's important that we find innovative and creative solutions to today's problems and tomorrow's. So I think we really contribute to that.
Great.
Yeah. Did you want me to answer too?
Yes, please.
I was just going to say, and this is on the website, and this took me by surprise, that Latinos use digital media more than any other ethnic group, but there's 7% of technology workers are Latino. So it's true that when you get in and you start designing and configuring technology, it starts to respond to your specific needs. And so it has to be that way, whether it's getting more people in the idea generating or in the innovation, or getting more people into computer science and programming and coding. So it's about just having everything start to equalize a little bit and get more people, the people who are using the technology, also building it.
Absolutely. That number that Cheryl just said is exactly right on. 7% of the tech workers in the U.S. are Latinos, but we make up 17% of the population. So there's a big gap there that we're working to close. So now that we've talked a little bit about why it's important to recruit more Latinos, Fallon and Jason, why do you think that there aren't already more Latinos in tech right now?
Yeah, I guess I can kind of start. It's a really good question, and I think that a big part of it is actually a lack of access and a lack of mentorship about getting involved in tech. We're certainly, everyone in the U.S. and Latinos included are exposed to technology every day. It's a huge part of our lives. But I don't necessarily know if there's anybody telling students in school, like, hey, you can actually help build these things too. You can help make the phones, you can help make the apps, the games that you're all playing, and here's how you do it. So I think that a big thing that we need to work on is actually getting kids involved early on in school, teaching them about computer science, about engineering. The other side of that, I guess I would say too, is I definitely think there's a misconception that only computer science and engineering majors are the ones that can get involved in tech, hired by tech companies. Like you said at the beginning, I was an international studies and economics major who had never even thought about going into tech until I was actually taken by my scholarship director to Google, and he had them talk to us about the Bold internship program and how to get involved. And so all of a sudden, all of these completely new opportunities were, available to me. And so I think that there's a lot of space for Latinos to get involved in tech, either on the kind of computing side or on the business side, the legal side, or even, there's a philanthropic side to tech that I think people kind of forget about too.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I love that you mentioned that it was a mentor who opened up that world to you. That's great. Jason, what do you have to add to that?
I think along the same lines, I think a lot of us are just growing up in in areas where, just like you said, we don't have the access to technology, to mentors, to resources. I don't think that I don't think that it's a lot of people are saying, oh, I don't want to be involved in tech. I don't want to, get great education. I think a lot of people are just, growing up in an area where, they're not aware of the opportunities that are available to them. I think, really the key is to, making those resources, those opportunities more available. And I think just from there, it's just moving forward from there.
Perfect, and that's the goal of the VL Innovators Challenge, to make people aware of what's open and available to them, and to connect those who have good ideas to the folks who will help them flourish in the tech field. There are a lot of young Latinos and young people in this country who are talented, who have abilities, but maybe don't know how to establish themselves. And so if you watching are one of those young people, we encourage you to apply for the VL Innovators Challenge and help us help you. Okay, so you guys talked about this a little bit already. At least Fallon touched on it a little bit. But for Jason, Juan, and Fallon, why did you personally decide to pursue a career in the tech sector? Jason, let's start with you, then go to Juan and Fallon.
I think for myself, to be honest, it started off when I was probably about 14. I remember watching the Apple keynote where they presented the first iPhone, And from there, it really just it blew me away, because obviously the world at that point had never seen anything like that. I mean, it was intuitive. It was designed greatly. And it changed the way that we interact with technology. And just from what I saw, it was those engineers, who made that difference. It was the engineers who had the education, who were able to make an impact in the lives of everyday people. And just for me, I think that's something that I want to do. I want to be able to make an impact in the lives of people on a daily basis. By providing them technology that's well designed and well built.
Awesome.
For me, it's been kind of interesting. Technology has always just given me the ability to tell my own story, whether it's blogging or writing essays using the computer to do it, and then transitioning into social media and coding and all kinds of stuff like that. So it allows me to tell my own story. And then I came from a communications background in advertising. I think it's important that we're aware that we can always switch and our career should flow, right? And eventually I just realized I wanted to kind of sit at the intersection of technology and community. I'm not a coder, but I learned that those opportunities are out there. So, let me tell my story and let me go chase down my dreams, and here we are.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, like I said, I was interested in economics and international studies and had never even thought about tech until I was kind of exposed to it and then got to spend my summer at Google. But I found out that technology, like both of the guys have just said, has a lot of opportunities and different ways to reach a lot of different people at once. So whether you want to make an impact in your community, whether you want to help somebody with their business, there's a way to use technology to do that, and it does have a really large impact.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's so much I want to comment on for what all three of you just said. So starting with Jason, I like the fact that you mentioned the fact that we do use technology every day. I was recently asked to make a list of all the Google products that I use in my work and then also in my personal life, and oh my goodness, like it was so long I didn't realize how much I use. I mean, not just Google, but technology in general. Computers, cell phones, technology really just makes our lives so much smoother and so much easier, and I honestly can't imagine my life without without these tech products. And Latinos, we do use technology at incredible rates. We're on social media. Latinos are more likely than their peers their same age to have the newest cell phone, the newest tablet, the newest smart TV. And if we're consumers, like, why not be creators? So like Jason, trying to make these products, we know what we need and what we use these products for, so let's contribute to creating them. But for those of us who don't have that skill set or chose to pursue our career in a different path, there's still opportunity for us to be making contributions in the tech sector, just like Fallon, just like Juan, who both came from non-tech academic degrees, and they're both now working in the tech sector. The thing with that is that everything incorporates technology these days, and I think it's only going to keep getting that way. So with all that said, a question for everyone: why should Latinos consider careers in tech? What are the benefits of pursuing a career in this industry? Let's go Cheryl, Juan, Jason, Fallon.
Mute myself. Can you hear me? Sorry. I just feel like it's sort of like the analogy, I think, is house building. I mean, I think that if you are going to live in a house, that you should be involved in some way, either in making it or designing it, or as Fallon was saying earlier, you can be involved in tech in many sort of tangential ways. You don't necessarily have to be the one who's building the foundation of the house. And look at it like this is a thing that a lot of people work on together. So to me, it just feels like the same thing. It's like if you're gonna be part of a community and technology is touching every part of the community, then show up and start having a say in what kind of products you want or services you want, or how you can solve issues in your own community. Or it is like a big sandbox, and everybody should play in it. If you're using it, you should figure out what it is that you want to build.
Right, absolutely. A lot of what you said actually reminded me of what we say about civic engagement. Voto Latino started 10 years ago, and our bread and butter has been voter registration. We've expanded because we know that there are other areas in which we can make a difference. And so just like voting and being active in our communities, registering to vote, which if you're listening and you're not, votolatino.org, great resource to go do that right now. It's important to be active in our communities, but again, to participate in other aspects of our communities, and technology is a great way to do that. Thanks so much for that, Cheryl. Moving on to the next person.
Yeah, along with involvement and participation, I think there's also a responsibility, knowing that a lot of our community is underrepresented in the workforce. You know, innovation and technology really mold the way that a community grows and addresses other issues like health, for example. You know, obesity, diabetes, poor diet. Like our community is plagued by a lot of these ailments, and technology can actually provide some great solutions. You know, I know, for example, there are older people in my life that have been able to better curb their diabetes and eat healthier because they now have access to some online tools or some different gadgets. So it's our responsibility to bring these things back, whether it's back home, in my case, to Colombia, or to my family in South Florida. We have a responsibility and a duty to also break a lot of these cycles. And I think careers in technology, both because of the opportunity for entrepreneurship and innovation, and also the compensation a lot of times, give us those tools to go, you know, shatter a lot of the kind of inefficient and ineffective ways we do things.
That's perfect. Thanks so much, Juan.
Just on my end, I think, I guess in my opinion, I think the opportunity to work in technology is the opportunity to make a difference in the world. Like Juan was saying, you know, the way we interact with technology, it has an impact on the way we live, and it really can make a difference. Just recently, I was just reading online. I found out that, you know, jobs in the tech sector, especially in the computer engineering sector, are going to be the fastest growing jobs over the next 10 years. And so, you know, the opportunities are out there. I mean, there are going to be jobs available over the next 10 years. And like I said, it really is the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of just the everyday person. It doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to be like an Olympic athlete or whatever, but you have the opportunity to make a difference, to make a real change in people's lives.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I would totally agree with everything that everyone said. And the other thing that I would just add is working in tech is just fun. Like, it's an exciting field that you can work in. You feel like every day, and even here at my job at Google, like you guys have said, you know, you're doing small things, but you really are making such a big difference. And every day it feels like there's a new kind of problem that you can tackle, or something else that's, you know, it's changed because technology is moving so quickly, and you have to like kind of try and keep up with all of that. So it's definitely an exciting field to get into, and one, like you guys have already said, that you can make a big impact in.
Absolutely. And just to add a little bit more to what all y'all have already said, it's also a question of economics. Latinos generally are, I mean, not obviously not everyone, but generally tend to be in lower income brackets, and this is a problem because there are so many of us, and something needs to be done. And one thing is through the tech sector. Here's a statistic for you. The average Latino worker makes about $34,000 a year, just, you know, average U.S. Latino worker, whereas the average tech worker makes $77,000 annually. That's more than double what the average Latino worker makes, and this is just on average. And so by getting more Latinos involved in the tech sector, we're also helping bring up this sector of our population. So there are a lot of reasons that it's important to consider being involved in the tech sector. Juan, what would be your advice to someone who says a career in tech just seems beyond my reach? Is it really possible?
Cheryl already talked about it as far as, you know, you don't need to be a computer science engineer, although I think it's a great career path to pursue if that's something that makes sense for you, do it. You don't have to go into it to end up in tech. A lot of tech is really about innovation and just being a creative thinker and also a people person. Technology is only as powerful as the people that use it and how they use it. And then secondarily, you know, in a way, yeah, it might seem out of reach, and that's totally fine, right? Like, what's the point of doing things if you're not challenged? Like, tech gives you an opportunity to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, to do all kinds of really cool things. So don't be scared. You know, it's fine for that fear to be there, and it might seem unattainable at times. but forget it, just go get it.
That's perfect. So one thing, okay, I'm one of those people who is often intimidated, but I found there are a lot of like tools and things that you can do online. I started keeping a blog, because I'm a terrible journaler, but also because it was a way for me to learn a little bit more about technology and how to work online. So there's a lot you can do, even if you don't choose to have a profession in the tech sector. There's still a lot of ways that you can become versed in technology and add that to your skill set, which will be handy regardless of what profession you decide to pursue overall. Cheryl, what would you say to someone who has already established a career in a different field but is thinking of transitioning to the tech sector? What advice would you give to them?
I would tell them to apply to VL Innovators with their great idea. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do, is get people to think about just solutions and just ideas. And I know a lot of people, including myself, I consider myself to be in a tech field. I have a tech position, but my background is in literature, and I was a journalist before. So I think flexibly about what your talents are. I feel a little bit, and I've been doing a lot of research on education, and I think a lot of what happens is you go to school and you think you have to be good at everything, and then you go to university and you think you have to be good at this one thing. But in life and in your career and what you do, you're going to collaborate with a lot of people, and the strengths and things that you're really good at, some of those aren't really going to show up until you're actually in your profession. But often I think those strengths are things that your family could say about you, your friends could say about you. If you're a good people person, if you have lots of great ideas, if you're creative, if you're funny, if you connect really well with people, all those things, the ability to work in teams, I mean, that's what makes working in the tech field so exciting. It can be very fast-moving. It can also be something that you work on for a long period of time and you don't see the fruits of your labor. I mean, it can be all those things. Again, I always think of the analogy of building. You don't necessarily have to know how to build a whole house. That's sort of how we're trained in school. You come out and maybe you're really good at the vision. Maybe you're the architect, or maybe you find somebody who's an engineer. You sort of go back and forth and collaborate and figure out exactly how you want to make this thing happen. And I agree with you. I mean, I'm glad you used the word intimidation. I think just get rid of all of that intimidation. If you feel it, go toward it and figure out what is there, because if I can be in tech, you can be in tech. I mean, I'm a little bit older. I didn't grow up with a lot of this stuff, and I just decided I am not going to let anybody make me feel stupid. I'm just going to go and I'm going to try this stuff until I learn it. And now I'm in the tech field, I think. And also Fallon made a good point at the very beginning about she's coming from a very different background and met the right person and a great opportunity and had an open mind about shifting careers.
That is excellent, and I love that bold, fearless stance you just took. We all can be involved in the tech sector, and getting rid of those fears, that's just the very first step. Thanks so much, Cheryl. That's really, really great advice. We've talked a lot about how the Latino community can benefit from becoming more involved in the tech sector, but let's transition that a little bit. Fallon, why does diversity in the tech sector matter? So the other side, we know why the tech sector is good for us. Why do we matter to the tech sector?
For sure. So I think you said I think it was you, Yande, that said it a little bit earlier, but, you know, Latinos especially are huge consumers of tech. You know, technology is not going anywhere. It's going to be here for the long haul, and if anything, it's only going to increase presence in our lives. So why wouldn't the tech sector want us to be involved in creating that technology? We have unique perspectives that we can bring to the table. We know what our community needs and what we're interested in, so the tech sector definitely needs us to be involved, and you know, that's how innovation happens, is by getting different unique perspectives, and so it's going to be really important in the future.
Perfect, thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add to that one? No pressure. All right, I think Fallon summed it up perfectly. Thanks so much. Cheryl, for those who now, having been empowered by your declaration and by the advice of everyone on this panel who are now they're thinking of pursuing careers, what does it take to be successful in tech?
I think this is a great question. I really think it's a mindset. I want to give an example of, so Haystack has administered other digital media and learning competitions, and we had this one that had a project that's called Out the Window, and it was a group of researchers and teachers and educators and out of school program got together with these high school students in LA, and they were kind of in a interesting area where they realized that a lot of people are taking buses, and they basically did videos about the food islands in their area and about a lot of health issues, and they had them run on the transit system. So while people are sitting there captive at the end of their long day on their way back to their homes, they basically were seeing these really artistic, creative videos that these high school students had made. And to me, that is being successful in tech. I mean, that is high school. If you're doing that in high school and you're thinking that way and having that kind of mindset that I know what the problems are in my community and I can find people who are going to think about them in creative ways that's interesting, and meanwhile I'm going to be learning some skills about video production and editing, I just think that your world is totally wide open. You just go take it and seize it. And really what that is about is it's talking to people, find out what kinds of problems are they experiencing, are they something that maybe they've tried other solutions that you have a different idea. I think the tech field, at least what I have discovered, is it is so collaborative, which is sometimes when you're in school, when you do that, it's considered cheating, or you're being graded for being individually good at something. But when you get into your work environment, collaborating is actually, that's where the ideas start to roll. So if you feel like I don't have an idea right now, I guarantee you, if you just walk out and take it as a challenge, that I'm going to see how many problems I can find in a day. I'm going to find some people who've thought about solutions, and I'm going to look and network for people who can come together and start brainstorming with me. Throw out lots of ideas, keep working on them. One thing we always say in our field is fail fast, and think about failing instead of failing like you would in school. Think about it like learning or experimenting, which is really what it is. If you fail and you don't learn from it, then maybe it's like the true definition of failing. But if you fail and you realize, you know what, 80% of that worked. I bet if I worked on this other 20, I could get it back up at least close to 100. And if I don't, I'm going to throw that out and try something else. And it's really it's a mindset more than anything else. And I guarantee you that along the way you're going to pick up skills, whether you try to or not. It will just happen because you're going to be in there so dedicated to the idea that you just naturally become good at what you're doing.
Right. No, that sounds so exciting. It reminds me of what Fallon said earlier about how working in tech is fun and it's exciting and it's a challenge. What a thrill. And something that you said, you mentioned the students in LA who came up with an idea at public transit stations. That reminded me of a conversation I had with someone earlier this week where we were talking about how something as simple as an app to tell you the time the bus comes can make a difference, especially for those who rely on public transit as their mode of transportation. That means the difference between them getting on time to work and not getting fired from their job and being in a lot of trouble with their boss and risking their livelihood for their family. So it's something so small, but it can make such a big impact, and really technology affects everything in our lives. Thank you so much for that. Okay, putting the men on the spot here, Juan and Jason, what can we be doing right now to personally encourage other young Latinos to pursue tech careers, whether that's the people around us, maybe younger siblings or cousins or friends of friends? What can we be doing to encourage others to get involved?
I think a lot of it really is just making it more accessible. Like I mentioned before, one of the main reasons I decided that got me interested in tech was back in 2007. As a 14-year-old or however old I was, watching the Apple keynote, and I remember I didn't just hop on the internet and just run into the Apple keynote. I remember the summer or a few months before it, my family was in California, and we had ended up wandering off into a mall. And while my sisters were shopping, my mom was shopping, me and my dad, we ended up wandering into an Apple store. And at the time, I'd obviously never even been into an Apple store, but I remember just playing with some of their products, and it just really got me interested. I've never heard of Apple computers. At the time, we had a raggedy old compact that was sitting in our house that was running on dial-up internet. But just as I became interested, I started doing a little bit more research, and I heard, oh, hey, Apple's having a conference online, so I tuned in, and that's what really got me started. In the same way, I can see it with my younger brothers. I mean, obviously when I was his age, I didn't have a compact computer, a nice Mac to hop onto. But my younger brother, I mean, he's very computer literate. He's almost he's smarter than me even, and he's very computer savvy. I think a lot of it is really just making sure that people like us, we have access to the technology, the resources to get a hold of it, because we'll build our own interest, and as that happens, we can go from ourselves.
I'll have a little bit to add after Juan answers.
Sure.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah. I think it's important to create that access, and then also to be positive role models. I was fortunate enough to participate in the Voto Latino Power Summit in Miami some weeks ago, and I brought my mom and my sister. There's one happening in San Antonio and San Jose, so go check that out. But I brought my mom and my sister. My sister's 13, and like we seem to think that discussions like these should be limited, or we only kind of include, college students, young professionals, people out in the working world. Like, why can my 13-year-old sister? I'm gonna send her a copy of this. You know what I mean? So like, let's make sure that we're doing our part to facilitate that information, and then also once we create that access and we open up the pathways, let's not baby them. I gave my sister an iPad, and like a few weeks later, she was doing what do you call it, like iMovie videos with my little cousin, right? I didn't tell her go do this. I didn't facilitate all the videos. It's just like, let's create access and allow the kids to go do whatever it is they want to do. So I think those are some approaches that I think we should consider.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. It is amazing what kids can do. I've seen even my neighbor's 3-year-old navigate an iPad probably better than a lot of adults I know. And I'm gonna elaborate a little bit on what Jason was saying about access, even in our own family. We're gonna get a little personal here, guys. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. Jason's the third, and he and I are 8 years apart in age. And I remember when I was in 5th grade, our family got a typewriter, and it was a big deal because it had whiteout backspace. It was incredible. I didn't have to write out my reports by hand. And then I remember in high school when we got that raggedy, well now it seems raggedy, that compact computer, but when we got it, it seemed like the most fabulous thing in the world, and dial-up internet was amazing. And it's amazing to see how things have evolved. And even in our own family, the access that I had to technology was different than what he was saying our brothers have. So my parents and I came from El Salvador when I was 2, and our family situation was maybe a little bit different then than what it is now. Now that we have our two youngest brothers are 15 and 13, and they're hanging out on the Mac and playing with the Xbox and the Wii. I mean, things I never had access to. But it's all about providing those opportunities. I was in LA recently, and Juan can talk about this. Juan introduced me to a really, really great group called Urban TXT, and they are amazing. I got to visit with them for a day, and they're this group of young boys in South LA, and they were learning how to code. They showed me the projects they were working on, and it was amazing to see the work that this group is doing. And just by providing access to these young boys who maybe wouldn't have known about technology or wouldn't have had the chance to learn how to code, and you give somebody an opportunity and just you watch them flourish, it's incredible. And that's what the VL Innovators Challenge is all about. We're gonna wrap up. But before I close it out, I just wanted to see if any of our panelists had anything else they wanted to add, either about the VL Innovators Challenge itself, or just about the importance of having Latinos in the tech sector. Open floor.
I just want to say that it's really cool that we have 2 males and 2 females on this panel. I think this is part of a larger discussion about not just Latinos, but definitely about more women, more African Americans, anybody that is not properly represented. Nation Builder, we're fortunate to have a lot of women both in our engineering department and everywhere else. But we need more. Ladies, please come work in the tech sector. We need you guys.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I'm going to be really disappointed if there are people watching this who don't end up applying to the Voto Latino Challenge.
Yeah, guys, do it. $500,000. Come
All
on.
you have to do is just get together with friends and come up with an idea. Just put your heads together, go out and start talking to people and brainstorm. It's really, and then you can put it on your resume that you applied. You can even put that on your resume. I applied for this competition.
Right, and you don't know. You might be the next Bill Gates, the next Apple competitor, the next insert fill in the blank. The options are endless. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us and tuning in. I just want to just drive home the fact that this conversation that we had today is really important, and we hope to have more of them. As Juan mentioned, Voto Latino will be traveling to San Antonio just next week, actually. It's not too late to join us, VLPowerSummit.com. And we'll be also traveling to Silicon Valley, to San Jose in October, and we welcome the opportunity to meet more of you in person and to just provide access to the lineup of speakers and workshops that we have available. This conversation will definitely keep going, and if you're watching and you're excited about technology, you're thinking of some great ideas, go out right now, visit VLinnovators.com and check out what the competition is about. The deadline is October 15th, and like Cheryl said, all you have to do is have a good idea. Write it up in 250 words and submit it. It's that simple. It's not a hard process, and there's so much that can come out of it if you just try. You have nothing to lose. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and tune in for the next chat at a future time. Have a good day, everyone.